Hi, my name's Phil. I'd like to talk about politics. So, remember how we've been talking about how the Farage and Tory hard Brexit has been costing the UK Treasury about £50 billion a year in lost revenues? I mean, that would certainly make Rachel Reeves's problems disappear if we could recover it. Well, I had been saying that this £50 billion was considered by economists to be probably an underestimate, and some latest research from a group in America definitely indicates that. It's concluded that our GDP has actually been stifled by between 6% and 8% up to this point, rather than the 4% generally considered the long-term impact, and that it's cost the Treasury nearer £90 billion a year in lost revenues. Now, many of the figures we've been using have been based on the long-term impact of Brexit, which economists generally agreed would be about a 4% hit to our GDP. And it's always been said that the immediate aftermath of Brexit would likely mean a greater hit. But there's not been much in-depth research into that because obviously it's taken a few years to get enough data in. You know, you have to wait a few years after Brexit, and then economic data generally takes another year after that anyway. So some thought maybe 5 to 6%, but this study says actually no, you've been hit 6 to 8%. By studying the trajectory, for those who think to yourself, well, how can you really work it out? How can you see into the this parallel universe? What you do is you map British companies with other companies both inside the EU and outside, and you map their respective trajectories before Brexit and how they've gone since. So we can see that Brexit has done even more damage to our economy than previously thought. It means there's an even greater imperative to address the issues honestly. After all, the problem blighting many advanced countries around the world today is public demand to deal with what is now a biting cost of living problem. And we allowed it to get out of hand. Governments in lots of countries allowed it to get out of hand. Well, for most countries, there aren't really any easy solutions right now, although there are often better ones than being pursued. But if the public were to become aware of the truth, we have a relatively easy one. Now, being clear, rejoining, like the single market or customs union or both, doesn't get us all that money back. The amount lost is not the amount you get back if you reverse Brexit. Some of that trade is permanently lost. Some would take time to get back, but we would get an instant boost. And when the Lib Dems use this report to talk about losing £90 billion a year, that's just taxes. The hit to our economy is greater, and that would have been money directly into the pockets of British workers, business owners. Money just swallowed up by the enormous levels of red tape and lost trade, which, I mean, the red tape, the charlatans promised Brexit would reduce that, but as I've discussed a lot, could only ever massively increase. Cannot say it enough. Despite the anti-Brexit rhetoric, the single market exists to get rid of red tape. That's why so many countries wanted to join it. It makes the job of trading easier. In fact, let's go over the headline figures from the report, which the Lib Dems are promoting in an effort to generate some debate on our place within our most important market. GDP reduced by 6 to 8%. Investment reduced by 12 to 18%. Employment hit by 3 to 4%. Productivity, same amount. The Lib Dems have used these data to calculate that our tax revenues have been reduced by £90 billion per year. Now you think about that. Right now, Rachel Reeves is, at the point at which this video goes out, it'll be a little while, but today, presenting a budget where she's going to reveal the hole she's having to plug. Now, because I'm recording this before she's presenting it, I can only go by reported estimates of about £20 billion. Now, just to be clear, that is £20 billion over 5 years. Brexit is now estimated to be costing the Treasury £90 billion every single year. So across a span of 5 years, that's £450 billion. Reeves is getting a load of shit from the same Tory media who promoted Brexit for the sake of about 20 billion when they've cost us 450 billion over the same period of time. I mean, the Tory media, I cannot say this enough now, they're making a massive issue over maybe 20 billion pounds over 5 years, when their lies have cost the Treasury 450 billion over the same period. This is how our unfit for purpose media is making us a deeply unserious country. With that 450 billion pounds, she could have not only not needed to raise the taxes that the Tory media are whining about, She could have supercharged investment. Absolutely anyone who promoted Brexit, whether they be Tory shill or Lexiteer, has got nothing to say about the economy right now. Zip it. As Ed Davey said yesterday, the most dishonest campaign in our history said it would save us £350 million a week, but Brexit actually cost us £250 million a day in 2025. Now, Davey is not quite right there. That's what it's costing the Treasury. The cost to the country is far more. Taking the midpoints of the estimates, it's costing the country over £200 billion a year, which is over £500,000 every single day, or nearly £4 billion a week. I don't know why the Lib Dems are presenting the smaller number here. I guess they're just as bad at comms as Labour. The lost tax revenues is only part of the cost to us. The money that wouldn't have gone to the Treasury would have gone to people. You've got business owners, you've got workers' wages. That money would then have been spent on expansion of businesses instead of closing them down, more goods and services in our local economies, instead of which it just disappeared. Some of it in costs to EU-based agents to sort out the paperwork, some of it to businesses outside of Britain who presented themselves as more reliable trading partners. All money that Britain chose to do without. You think about Labour's investment plans from the budget last year. More money for housing, more money for publicly owned energy infrastructure, more money for the NHS, money to rebuild the schools and hospitals, which the Tories let collapse. Then you think about the investment we sorely need in defence, with a newly empowered imperial power battering on our eastern walls, while our hitherto staunch ally eggs them on. The investment Reeves announced last year amounted to, I think it was about a boost of £100 billion, which is a significant sum compared to the austerity we've had for years. But think what could have been done with another £450 billion on top of that. And yes, I know it wouldn't really be £450 billion because some of the tax rises last year wouldn't have happened if the coffers were looking that good, but it would still have been enough for a much bigger boost to public spending, and nobody would be whining about immigration. Maybe Farage still, but nobody would be listening to him while he sits on a park bench feeding the ducks, telling them Hitler was right. How do you think most people would react if they were told about the real economic cost of Brexit? And why do you think the media are not making any effort to explain it to them if they really do have the country's best interests at heart? Let me know what you think in the comments below. Please subscribe to the channel for more content. Click the bell notification icon so you know when new videos are out. Thanks for watching, and until next time, I'll see you later.